Come on, Restream. You can do it. You can do it. Maybe you can't. I don't know. Come on, Restream. Waiting for the game to be ready. Okay, well, anyways, while I wait for Restream to do its thing, welcome everyone. This is a test. Let me know how it goes, audio-wise. Just trying to find a setup that works, but either way, thank you for coming, joining in, or watching the replay. You know, as I've kind of been talking, like I'm gonna talk about source control because it's been one of those like, should I talk about it? Should I not talk about it? Type of things, and you just need to talk about it. So, in no way do I think one is bad than the other. You know, I'm not going to say Git is inferior to VSTS or sorry, VFTC. Acronyms suck. Or that, you know, vice versa. They all have a use, but each of them is frustrating in its own regard, and no one's really talking about the solution. And I don't know if I do either, but that's, you know, to why I guess I figured I'd just do this. So, right, we started out, I mean, yeah, you could say we started way back when, but for today, I'm just going to take a look at Git and VFTC. I haven't used Jira. I haven't used some of the other stuff out there, so I don't want to speak to something that I have never used. And me, I started personally off with Team Visual, you know, the source control from Visual Studio. Team Foundation Source Control, I think it is, the TFVC. But this was also back, you know, early 2000s where GitHub was a thing, but Git really wasn't that much of a thing in the corporate space, or it was, but it was this niche open source thing, not let's everyone and their mother adopt Git. So, in the pros that I had with Git, or sorry, not Git, with VFTC were, as someone for me coming on the spectrum and with dyslexia and ADHD and all these other things to cause issues, you know, with VFTC or TFVC, I can't. Yeah, and of course I had to use Paint because OneNote decided not to do streaming. And my writing sucks, that's okay. Pro was easy to commit. Now, that's not to say Git isn't easy, but it's just easier for someone like me to make a change, commit it, and do what I need to do. Now, you can argue about the unit testing, the checking in changes, you know, how do you not overwrite your partner's changes? Because those happen with me a lot, and those still happen. How do you do that? And, you know, you could talk file locking, but then, you know, if you're a corporation of thousands of developers on a project, that's not scalable. You can't just lock a file when some of these files are, you know, something that's needed for multiple people to edit, and you have to kind of wait and change, and it was not functional. It caused a lot of issues, but I could go back. If I am a new developer and I just messed up completely, that I could go back and do my changes and not have to have a Bible of commands to make sure that I followed the 50 steps to make sure that I undid my process. I could visually see what that process is. And yes, there are tools out there that you can kind of see that, but that doesn't help you navigate changes. They don't help you as well back in and back out your changes. When you go to PR a change, I have still yet to find someone who can explain to me properly how to take a pull request and back it out without muddying and dirtying your branch, the branches of your friends. Git seems to assume, and again, I'm more than happy. It's a discussion. Feel free to prove me wrong. But it's not friendly for new people to start. And when you're a junior developer, you're not probably going to get those Microsofts, those Dells, those big, huge teams. So when you're a 1 or 4 person company, Git is overkill. And it's good to learn that. But thank you, Space Shot. Feel free to contribute in as you see. As being a smaller company, there's a lot of extra work, and a lot of times too, the person who suggests, hey, we should use Git, this will solve some of our issues, doesn't fully understand Git either. And I know I saw a tweet by another MVP asking how to use Git, and everyone's linking to all these docs, all these other things, and that's great. But again, these docs were written by people who understand Git. They are not something where I can go, hey, I just rechanged a namespace. My pull request vomited on me. How do I back out this pull request without deleting everything and starting over? Deleting everything and starting over is not source control. That's doing that. And to be fair, I had to do it with both options. So it's not so much that, oh, well, I think TFVC, is better because I don't have to delete stuff. No, I was deleting so much more. But the fact that, that it's this, here's this sub commands that you do it. And people who say that I found anyways, usually had someone who was nice enough to actually sit down with them and work with them, rather than, we're bringing you onto a busy project, we need you to know this yesterday, and then that manager, again, doesn't know Git. It's just the follow the leader type mentality. So then what you run into is, like with TFVC, yes, maybe you had it so one person could check it out a file at a time, or you had some of the other things that were implemented later on to try to prevent some of these issues more than just the file locking, or you had deploy issues. But there's only really 1 or 2 ways to really do TFVC, and there is about 1,000 ways to do Git, and those are just by the experts. If you don't know what you're doing, there's probably a million or so combinations of how you're supposed to use Git, how you're supposed to use Git with Agile, how you make branching. Do you make one branch that everyone kind of works off of? Or do you have thousands of branches and thousands of trees, and you all come back to the master repo? And do we use the same repo? Do we duplicate repos? Like, Jesus, I want to check my code in today, maybe not next week. That's the thing, like, with pull requests, I wish there was more of that with TFVC. The fact that I can do something like a pull request, have someone review it, and I don't have to walk over to their office, that I can send out a pull request for someone to edit, and I can come back, work on something else, and not have have this clean code base and keep my tickets organized. I like that. I'm still not an expert at doing that, but I like that idea. I like that concept. And you kind of had to manually keep track of your own tickets and on your files and make sure stuff didn't get overridden. Then in when you check that in, or you didn't accidentally deploy bad code, which still happens in Git, by the way, with all our source control stuff, with all the here's how to make sure that we're using Git, you don't deploy bad code to production, with all our unit tests, with everything we have. 9 times out of 10, once a week, someone's deploying bad code to production in a Git environment. So we're not really solving that either. Right? Yeah, Space Shot, that is true. Like, a little bit. And there are things, GitHub just has a better user interface than SourceTree. So don't get me wrong, SourceTree is a good platform. But someone with dyslexia, I can't spell check in SourceTree. I can't follow the way SourceTree is laid out. Especially coming from context of TFVC, the integrated TFVC thing in Visual Studio is really nice. And I know there are people who would probably go burn my house down for saying that, but it's not a bad tool. It just needs a little bit of work. And because of the 1001 Git implementations, it's harder to make a tool for that. If you make a tool for that is easy, solves all the problems, you have to start forcing a Git standard. But it seems that people who use Git don't want you to force a standard on them. Don't tell me how to use my Git. Okay, well, can you tell me how to use your Git? Because I don't know how to use your Git. And that's where that comes from. Unit testing is another good thing, which that's probably even a different topic. But having tests that run at check-in, that's something both do. So it's not really a Git's better than TFVC on that. It's this, well, they all can do that, and you should be doing that anyways. And both should be stopping that. But then, right, with TFVC, a lot of times if it doesn't pass, then you just checked in code to the branch in your SOL. Well, and you'd have to do that beforehand. But a lot of times I've found too, the unit tests that my Git pull requests run against aren't the same unit tests that I have available to in my IDE as a developer. Where, because of the lack of the feature in TFVC, everyone had to use the same unit tests. There was no some person dictating, this is the way you do your pull request. Otherwise, if you misspelled something in your pull request, I'm going to reject you. If you didn't do these things, follow this template, do this extra work that we're paying a developer a lot of money for, all because communication was bad in the first place. That now there's so much extra work. And, yeah, I mean, TFVC had its own issues again, where you could go and blow away the repo and then, cause issues. But a lot of times you could just restore, backup, re-download, and yes, you can do it with Git too. But again, can I do that quickly from a graphical user interface that is intuitive? No, I cannot. You have to know the commands to redo all that. Yes, I may have committed bad changes, but my changes are there. If I forget to push or sync or pull or, just come up with something else, that's it. I'm done. I can't not, go back because my local version was redone. So now I have to have a redundant local version to push to. So now half my hard drive is filled of redundancies. And redundancy is not a bad thing. But again, if you're a solo developer, if you're a team of 4 or 5 people, do you need a RAID 50 setup of redundancies just to make sure you commit your code changes? And I say it this way too because you come back to, right, the 6 commands I needed to be successful with Git. Sync, push, pull, whatever. But that's not all Git is. You didn't see people saying the 6 commands I needed with VFTC to be successful. Why is this so hard for people? It was, hey, someone misconfigured their server, so now the replication process isn't working right, and I can't, it thinks these files are the same, but it's not, so it's not deploying to staging for testing. Or we have to copy and paste and, do that. The one thing I will say, though, that has been something good that has come out of the Git usage is, do this here. And I ran out of space. Bigger window here. Now, why am I thinking I can do that with the pen tool? Silly me. Probably cut off, but that I like. The chat's probably in the way now too. Stream chat. Pull down. No, pull it up here. That we've made an emphasis on, because of Git, there's been an emphasis on documenting our code, and that's something that we as developers could always do better at. That there is, hey, you have this internal repo, we don't want to make it public, but we need some way to keep things up to date. Look at the wiki. Look at the documentation that's built into the source control. And I'm thankful for Git for that, because no one can logically argue, well, you really shouldn't be commenting and making the wiki because it's a waste of lines of code and it's not really worthwhile, and all the garbage arguments I've heard about commenting in your code. And it's this, before that it was well, here's a Word doc and hope this has been updated by the last developer, or here's some comments that are in line or are in the code, but now your code file is we don't know, like, did the function change? If so, does your inline documentation, your comments, properly address this? Now, am I saying don't use comments? No. But your comments should be there, so if you're trying to do a simple edit as a junior dev, you don't have to open the wiki. I mean, you should do it, or link to where it is in the wiki, be it internal or external, in that comment. Here, basic info about function, more info, see line in wiki. 0 people do that. 0 companies that I have worked for or I've seen do that. I will be doing that with some of the stuff I'm coming out with in the future to show about how this should be done, but no one's doing it. And it's, well, no one's going to see it, it's just wasting lines of code, which, please do not judge of someone's productivity off of number of lines of code you can push off. If you think of the developer's day as that simple, I don't know, I'm sorry. I don't know what to say. I've got to rethink my thoughts here. And like, how are we going to solve this? Well, for one thing is, we're stuck in a world that, Git is getting the attention first. Git is getting the focus. There are companies that are 100% Git oriented. So saying to just upright and abandon Git I don't think is a viable solution, and probably most businesses would agree with me because they've invested so heavily in Git. That said, it's a content creation thing. Because of the nature of Git, you are going to have to help people understand how to solve their one of the 1,001 possible configurations Git could be. And that's a lot of work on someone who is spending a couple hours to make a blog. And I still haven't even mastered the Git commands yet, the Git command line, because again, it is so unforgiving if you cannot spell properly. Like, I've had typos blow away work because my dyslexia kicked in, or my ADHD, whatever, kicked in, and words that were proper were not. But I read them, my mind processed them as such. Therefore, it was proper. Nothing that red flag that said maybe delete or drop was not the right thing to use based on this context. You just did a push. Are you sure you weren't looking for sync? Right? You're not going to get that from a command line. But Git is basically a command line thing because when you start to, again, throw on the UI, it's forcing you in that box of conflict. What do you guys think? What are your thoughts? I mean, as I'm kind of rambling on thinking about the problem and solutions, I mean, I don't know. Are all of you the ones successful with Git? Or are there issues? Is my sound okay? Is my lighting okay? Are you possibly watching this on the way back from work in Seattle? So you're in your car and you don't want to look at it, but the highway's going like 10 miles an hour if you're lucky. Or did my chat freeze up? I don't know. But again, on the topic too, again, that's a documentation thing. And, there have been work done by other people out there who, again, are Git experts who've been trying to help people out. But once you go beyond those 6 commands that are what you need to do your basic stuff, again, that veneer of the superpower of Git falls, and you find out it's no different than the source control option you just moved from, plus some features and a few extra steps. And and I'd like to create content that helps solve this problem, but I'm not there yet. And I don't want to be like, yeah, I don't know Git, screw this. Like, no. And when I use the command, the graphical interfaces where I can figure out what's going on, where I can right click and undo, or right click and do something, or click and do something, where I am not going to be punished for being disadvantaged with something, that I have great success with Git, and I do prefer to use it, and I like it, and I'm getting myself to use it more. But when I'm not sure about something, when I'm not sure the direction a project's going to take, I'm hesitant to choose Git out of the door because of where Git needs to be. And I think people jump the gun on everyone and their grandma using the Git bandwagon. But now we are here as because of that, but now no one wants to solve the issues. You don't know Git, I don't know Git, I'm just going to fire you because, that's easier. We'll make something up, or whatever. I've heard stories like that too. Actually, I've been fired from a few job contracts because of my disability in Git. And that's not something that you really feel good about. Like, I'm struggling to use this tool that you're forcing on me, I'm trying to work with you as the person who forced this on everyone else. You don't know what to do either, but now it's my fault. And you don't want to admit that this maybe wasn't the best choice because you didn't know, and you don't know what to do either. Or you don't even want to admit that you don't know what to do. So yeah, and starting to fix some of these issues will then start to spill over into things as well, for the things like issues with documentation, issues with, that's another thing. Why, if I have documentation in a Git repo, why is that counted against my pull requests and everything else? Like, the default settings for documentation and notifications and pull requests are you want to get more email than you do spam email? Come with me, be on the other end of me trying to edit your wiki because I don't have the info, so I need to keep readjusting things, and I'm saving my work because we're trained to do file save. And I don't know that actually what it's doing is it's doing a push, pull, sync, and pull request all at the same time. What? You can improve our lives with making sure we don't destroy stuff, but file save, it's too hard to do that, and you have to make it use the same system because it's part of the same repo. Which, yeah, they should be together. I'm not arguing that. But why does my wiki file default to having the same notification preferences as me checking in sensitive, potentially production-breaking code? And both platforms do this, and they're not cleared how to change the settings. GitHub, the STS, any of these things. And you want to use your source tree to try to edit the wiki? Or some of these other tools out there that aren't VSTS or Visual Studio Code? Good luck. Or using the browser editor. Just, I'm not even going to go to that. But and it just, also, I mean, dark mode. Like, yes, I have these bright lights and stuff, but, like, here, I'm gonna move my camera, so sorry, people. It's gonna be weird. But look, I have to do this. I have to do this to do your work that you want me to do, because I'm light sensitive. I'm going to readjust this. Okay, yes, no, maybe. Oh, yes. Nope, not that way. Nice code, happy code. Whatever, I don't remember that thing being there, but yeah, good enough. Like, and two, like, I have seen info, and I don't know where the links are right now, that, like, me not having this lighting set up is whatever. And two, like, how to try to explain to someone how I could sit at a computer screen and I can have these lights, which if I turn up to full, like here, right? I'm going to turn the, you know, like how this is what people think you are supposed to have for streaming and whatever. And then, you know, let's throw a high gloss screen because apparently, you know, we all have to copy Apple because Apple never makes mistakes and they always know what they're doing. and make it hard. And like, yes, there is a point to having a white background, even with this. Like, I get it. Like, what I'm doing here, like, my settings are often bugging me. Sorry. You know, and this is, there's nothing wrong with it, but the user interface that you force on people, if you are not thinking about the fact that it is only accessible for screen readers or low vision, you are not doing enough for your source control. So I'll give you an example here, and I see this so many times, right? This, let's make this your background. I'm gonna use a bigger brush because I can't. I think I made a bigger brush. Maybe I just made issues. No, I just made issues. Fine. I'm gonna do this. And fill tool. Screw it, that works. Let's get rid of all this. Oh, for these there's whatever. Good enough. I'm just gonna go fill it, right? There's your background. Right, and now let's make some text. Let's, you know, get the pencil tool back out. I think I did that okay. I'm having a hard time seeing, even at a higher percentage monitor resolution. Bigger size. Let's call this bold. There we go. At least VFTC or the TFVC worked with a consistent color standard. I see this so often. Also, can you tell that I'm using plain white? Maybe I'm not. Could be not liking the fact. There. See? This, if you can read where I'm pointing, or I think I pointed the, based on the bold, like, if you can read that, great. But so often these GitHub, these Git GUI solutions have this light gray and dark gray text that I know didn't, actually, I'll even prove it. And maybe I'll be proven wrong, who knows. Image, screen. No, I don't want that. I want this picker. Or not. Give me the picker. I want this color. And I want this color. Now I'm going to move OBS because it, to be able to stream on my Surface Book, I had to change it to the NVIDIA drivers instead of the built-in, and now OBS doesn't work. I think that's an issue with OBS, but let me change the window quick. Look, that, look at the test ratings. And I see this so often. But, you know, that's getting off topic, sorry. Let's get back to our discussion about this. So again, in my rant, like, help me here. Like, what do you guys think? What would you guys say is pros for Git? We got about 7 people watching. 7 people must have opinions. Either that or YouTube didn't sync. Now, there's no chats in YouTube, so it's all Mixer. Good, but I can't be the... you know, and again, this is kind of a discussion too with you guys in chat. Like, help me here, because I just keep seeing more people bring this up as a problem, while more and more people talk about how, you know, Git is amazing, and they're throwing confetti and you know, giving it the red carpet, but people keep complaining. So, like, you know, you need to better document. Like, how can we do that when you have the implementations? Or do we force a standard on people? Do we say, hey, you guys had your Wild West. We tried to help you. Everyone had their own way to do it. No one wanted to change the other person's. So now we're just going to make it so you do. Then what? And then people go, well, screw it, I'll just use something else. So that's not really solving the problem either. I don't want to make people leave Git. I want to get more people on Git, because that's what society and the big tech companies and everyone who sits up in front of a lecture and talks or does speaking on what they use or the new products coming out is saying I should use Git. So, okay, guys, you're forcing me to use Git. You're giving that priority over us TFVC users or us the Jira users or whatever. Like, help us out here. You don't want to force standards. Okay, fine. You don't want to do that. But then you have to then think of every single scenario for documentation and flow process. Right? Because one company's, you know, if I have, let's do the scenario of, right, I have my own repo that I have that's part of a different thing. So let's call that, get a big eraser first. Get rid of this, maybe. I wonder if this will let me do it. There we go. All right, so we have, let's call it branch 1. Call it dev life, because this is where all the dev stuff lives. This is where they're doing their pushes and pulls from. Then you have branch 2. And I am starting to lose the ability to type here. Sorry. 2, which is your... And you know, branch is the right word. It's repo 2 and repo 1, because you have to make it just so simple, right? So you have your where your devs are living. To PR, you have to make your changes here, and then PR to repo 2, where it gets approved. You know, if it gets approved, great, we're gonna go in there, which then come back to repo 1. If it doesn't, it goes back to this repo, and you have to re-update, because during this back and forth process, 5 other people just commit stuff, so now you can't even get your change back. What do we do here? I have stuff that I am told is to keep purity in my changes so I don't get bad changes. But if I have to back out of something, but I still have these changes, that now if I do a sync, might break my changes, or because it was a failed pull request, I can't even sync those changes for some reason, which has happened to me. How do you document? How do you help people with this scenario? How do you bring experience to this if you have not done this yourself already and caused issues and now make people back up? Like, then what? I don't have an answer for it, because this is where I start to get frustrated with it and just leave, back away. Like, but this is one scenario that you could run into, right? And when I see documentation, and when I see, let's see, actually, let me open a new instance of the painter. It's going to be, no, okay. When we see documentation, when we see stuff, right? Oh, now you do this to me. Thanks a lot. Sorry. Which window is it doing? I have no idea what window it's doing anymore. Okay, process of elimination says it's this window. Cool. Right? When we see documentation, it's step 1, right? There's one repo, 1 plus branches. Which, okay, that's fine. That is a common way to do Git. So because of this process, right, it's to make your changes, you push and pull. Great, right? I'm on a separate branch of this repo. That's great. That's fine. I come back, ready to submit. Ah, shoot, my head's covering it. Pull, right? Then when you're ready to submit, you make sure in sync. Resolve any issues, obviously. Then make a PR. And then hope it merges with the issue. And I say that because, right, PR flow, right, what is there? I don't know how many times I've had Git, right, I went through the PR process, it's been reviewed, there's been unit tests, there's been all this stuff, the changes are valid. It has been in sync. I am merging back to the master. I have made sure that that is pulled. We have made sure there is nothing else going out because it's been having issues. Only one pushing to master. Only one. All day. Have recent changes. Made sure of it. Did the diff checking, everything. An error has occurred, Git says. And I don't know what it is. Please figure it out. You, the human, please figure it out, because I, the software, have no idea why, but I just have to error at you. I'm sorry. Really. So, you're my source control, and you can't tell me why you can't merge this pull request. You feeling okay to Git, or something wrong? Did someone hit sync too many times on you? Like, and I don't know how to solve that either, because that's another dead end that I hit that was solved by deleting the repo and rebuilding. And there were a lot of branches out there that also caused issues with that. Like, okay. It's 2018. You'd think we would have understood error messages, but I guess maybe, I don't know. I have too much faith in humanity, or us as programmers and businesses, that we're more interested in giving our users some helpful error message than something happened, I don't know, you figure it out, call me if you need me. If you were an employee and you took that attitude, how long would you keep your job? If it's your job to do this thing and you go, well, this isn't the way I need it, or there's something wrong with what you gave me, I don't know, I know there's something wrong, but I'm not going to tell you why, you go fix it, how long would you keep your job? And we're not firing Git. We're not changing it. We're not firing Git. We're just letting it be lazy. What I don't know. Like, how do you make Git not be lazy? How do you make Git tell you what's wrong? Does anyone on this stream know? I don't. I really don't know. I'm not sure what to say. I'm gonna have to close out Chrome because it's maybe there's something wrong with the audio. We'll put it in chat. All right. What do you guys think? How might you fix this? And this is streaming live to YouTube. We can all see the chat, so your answers are going out. If not, I will find a way to make sure to get them out, because again, this is still a test, but I'm also testing my ability to think on the fly and work here, and because if I can't even do this, then I can't live code at all, or I'm going to be spending more time worrying about my live coding than just, I'm going to go live code and explain something, and we'll see what happens. What do you guys think? Or who knows? Maybe I'm talking to myself now. It's an empty room. I lost people with my rants. People had to go. No, okay, numbers are still right. I'm, and who knows? Maybe these are the hard questions. But this is something I hope to explore in future videos. I'm planning to do videos on talking about comments in code, commenting, how to go about doing it, why it's important, good ways to do it, good ways to not. I'm, just not even the doing stuff with Xamarin and things like that. And I'm going to be separating, unless I get offered partnership with Mixer, I'm trying to keep all my code stuff free, non-monetization of it, because this is stuff that shouldn't be behind a paywall. Maybe you get an ad, great, but I don't want to make it you feel like I have to get something to do that. But just things I have too, just working with there's gonna be another channel for accessibility related stuff, so it's gonna be gaming, web, mobile accessibility related, so it's gonna be on topics on like that, and just live streaming of gaming, because and just talking about new upcoming games as well, things like that. Gaming and separate channels for gaming stuff, but accessibility things like just having conversations with people, someone on the spectrum, to show that no, it's not weird for you to talk, that it's okay to be yourself, to find your voice, which so many of us struggle with. That's probably why I didn't do this sooner. As well too, is things to help us, getting the patterns, getting routines, doing that, why it's stimming, why, even to helping people understand why my life is so much more expensive than a comparable person's life. Why, even as a software developer, with how much I make, or someone with my experience would make, why that other person has such an easier time with money, because they don't have the expenses and the needs. And I am light compared to what other people who I might be or will be talking to have to deal with in their lives. And somehow we're just supposed to be able to get by and do all this stuff. But either way, I'm ranting again, sorry. Back to the the GitHub, like, right? Writing this stuff down on paper, this is what you do, this is the flow. Yes, that is, but that's not where people are struggling with Git. That's not where the issues are with Git. That's not. That's good you're getting that info out to help. But when the solution becomes use command line, I don't know, or delete the repo because it's easier, there has to be a better way. There has to be. This has changed the world for the better. As much as I don't want to say that, I'm willing to admit that it has for some of the things it offers, but there has to be more to this. And if it's not, and you're a company who's seriously taking accessibility into concern, who's seriously taking into concern your developers who are new, who may or may not have come from Git, seriously giving fair treatment to people who can prove they do the work, understanding a source control that you have forced on the population should not be a hiring requirement. Yes, you should understand Git if you were in a senior dev role or an architect role, but then you should also be helping people below you. And when the majority of Git users cannot say the C word, or have to say the C word when talking about solving their problems, yes, that helps. But if you then also cannot give me in text the commands, there's that C word again, that I need to run to fix the issue, and I'm supposed to figure out from a giant list of commands the context the command should be run in, and all this other stuff, and that's just for one branch, not much less two. There's something wrong, and you are not honestly being accessible. You are not holding to your core values if something that is core for someone to do work in has no proper workaround. And I wish I could sit here having answers to even the two things that I proposed. I've been talking for almost an hour, and I don't have answers. I have pros and cons. I have, why I prefer platforms, why one has been better than the other, why I like GitHub for some things, why I like VSTS for things. And but I don't have answers, and I think that's kind of why I'm talking, because I don't know. Like, people should not have to cry over stress because they don't know Git, or deal with the mockery because they don't know Git, because it's something they weren't exposed to, or it's hard for them. Your livelihood should not be dependent on something that is not usable for everyone. And yeah, you could say go change fields if that's the case, but now I have to start, someone like me or I or whatever would have to start lying. You can't go back to a minimum wage job because you're too experienced, or you're just going to leave us as soon as a better opportunity comes around, even though that's not reality. But it's happened enough that, maybe lying is not a bad thing. Maybe that's what I have to do. But if you think about the product you're pushing out, be it the new version for source control, the whatever, even if it's not addressing every single issue, if you can show some effort trying to solve the problem, or at least be willing to admit this is hard and not accepting solutions that enhance complexity until you solve the issues. Because all the updates I seem to get as an idea or whatever just enhance complexity. Like, all you people watch, like, there's people watching, and maybe you do, maybe you don't, like, but am I crazy? I think this is maybe this is why developers drink. Vices. So yes, that is I guess my thoughts for today, or I can think of. I'm gonna throw my host card again. Boom. That is me on Twitter. I'll leave this up for a bit while I finish this up. If you have feedback on the stream, talking points, because I do want to do a follow-up to this, by the way. But I don't want it to be the same thing. Maybe I'll try to get some people who are experts from each platform and see if I can get them to also help talk about the problem, instead of me just kind of trying to figure this stuff out myself and sit here spin my wheels. Shoot me a message on Twitter. Let's continue this discussion. That's the biggest thing, is I'm going to try to talk about things that aren't so much you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong, but because we're not really discussing it, we're just, well, I don't want to say this is an issue, so I'm just going to throw something out here and hope it solves the issue. I don't... What were we talking about again? Whatever. Like, it'll be interesting, too, to see the, why I find, unit testing useless at times, which it is a valuable thing done, especially with large companies. Don't complex systems, don't even, but it's communication, documentation. There's another one, forget the name of it, but it's basically 3 things that the developers hate to do. And I would argue that a lot of that is not even because they hate to do it. It's because corporate America, corporate world, does not value those things to the level they should. Or if they do, it's how about meetings for 5 hours for most of your work day, and then expect you to get something done too that day. But yeah, if there is no one else who has opinions to share, even if you're trying to formulate something, that's fine. Just let me know in chat. That way I don't cut you off. Otherwise, you can follow me on Twitter, Overez. If you do the little heart button on Mixer or the thumbs up on YouTube, like and subscribe, get notified when I do more. I'll try to tweet more. And I'm going to try to split tweets off a little bit too, so, you know, I'm not flooding my personal and dev Twitter with game development stuff, but I think that's not bad anyways, but that way more focused channels for that. And thank you guys for listening. Feedback on the stream is nice. If it's good, let me know. That's all I care about. Otherwise, I'll be back a little bit later tonight or tomorrow. Me and my partner are streaming We Happy Few. You get to see the more dry, sarcastic side of me that I usually do not show. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I look forward to talking to you guys next time.